We are here for another episode of Culture Content. I'm Kay.
I'm Chaz.
And we are Culture Content. We got a special guest today, Alichia Parker Thomas. She is an extraordinary black woman who has started nothing and made it a lot of somethings. And we're here, we're talking about education, we're talking about real estate, we're talking about healthcare. So it's going to be a jam-packed episode, and we appreciate you for welcoming us into your establishment,
sure.
Your learning center, which is amazing in itself, and a blessing to have something like this in our community that's black owned,
Thank you.
Because we at Culture Content want to emphasize like our culture does bring a lot to the table, and we're here building every day, but I don't feel like a lot of companies get a lot of exposure that they need in the platforms, basically. So, pleasure to have you, Alichia.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having
It's been a
me.
long time coming, It's supposed to be like last month, maybe, but it's the timing is everything, So the timing is no better time than the present, right? So we made it happen. You made
That's
it
right.
happen. So so let's get started. Tell us what you do, how you got started, and just take us from the beginning. Don't skip anything.
How much time do we have?
No, we got time. We got time. Let the people know. Let's educate them today.
Okay, cool. So as he said, my name is Alichia Parker Thomas. How did I get started? I stumbled into entrepreneurship. My background is in education. I have a bachelor's degree from Point Park University.
Oh, nice.
My master's degree is in organizational leadership from Geneva. I was working for a nonprofit doing curriculum writing, training and development. I was evaluating after school programs, and I just hit a wall. Let me back up. Even before then, I was a substitute teacher for Pittsburgh Public Schools.
Okay.
And so the reason why I got out of teaching in the school system was because I had spent all this time and energy into trying to come up with different ways for my students to grasp a concept. And my cooperating teacher came to me after the class was over, was like, Alichia, I understand you put a lot into this. However, we have to get to this point in the manual by Friday. And so that crushed me.
Right.
Because it wasn't really about
The learning.
my students comprehending what they learned, but it was more about them getting to this material. Okay, they covered it, and let's keep
Checking
it
the box
moving.
kind of thing.
It's checking a box. And so
Like
I
almost
remember,
almost.
I remember it was like a second grade student who I turned myself into a human clock for him, and he finally got it. And that was like the best feeling ever. Like I saw that light bulb go off in his head, and it was like my dreams were shattered when she came to me after the class was over and said that to me. And I was like, from there, I was like, I gotta educate a different way. And so that's when I got into nonprofit. As I said, I started doing trainings, curriculum writing, evaluating after school programs. And then I started my own private tutoring company, which I started APAR Educational LLC in 2007, where I did trainings, curriculum writing, private one-on-one tutorings. I would go inside the homes, and I'm like, wait a minute. I was getting a lot of calls for second grade kids and fourth grade kids, and I was like, if I could get them earlier, maybe I wouldn't get as many calls as I do now.
Yeah, because they'll be where they need to be.
Yeah, so I transitioned from the one-on-one tutoring into Malaika Learning Center, and we're sitting in Malaika today.
Wow. Amazing
Let
establishment.
me get some water.
One of the things that I like what you just said is, and I'm in the educational field right now. I work for Pittsburgh Public, so I do see how. And I work in special ed, so it's a little different than general education, but I see how teachers and school districts want to kind of check these boxes off, and they don't necessarily, I feel like sometimes they don't necessarily care if the student is comprehending everything that they need to, right? They just want to basically check off the boxes. So I guess that's the deficiency you've seen in the educational field that make you want to create your own stuff in the first place, because you seen that they wasn't doing it. So therefore, you had to take matters into your own hands.
Yeah, and so the one thing I learned just in my years in education is that children learn different learning styles, right? Vis-a-vis learning styles. And so children are hands-on learners, they're visual learners, they're auditory learners. Some there's a mixture. And so when I was growing up, my brother taught me how to count by playing cards. Right, so you ask me to play any type of cards, I'm going to smash you.
Yeah.
Like
Spades.
spades, tonk, 5,000, phase 10. Like, I'm not a competitive person, but when it comes to cards,
It's go time.
It's go time.
and I'm slamming the cards on the table.
I'm one of those people.
I'm one of those type of people that play cards. But anyhow, so, you know, back in the day, my mom was like, you want to sit here until you teach your sister how to count. And so literally at the table, he taught me how to count using a deck of cards. And so out of that, I created games. I created multiplication attack, parts of speech, a grammar game, because I understand that kids learn through play. And that's something that I really emphasize is learning while playing, because you're hitting the different learning styles, right? Growing up, sometimes we would sit in class and our teacher will be standing up at the front, at the board, or at the overhead. I'm telling the age now when I talk about overhead projector, right?
We had overheads too.
So
Let's just mix it up a little bit.
I'm telling my age. With the overhead projector, and it was like blah, 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 versus, you know, just bringing out stuff. Like, so when I would do my one-on-one tutoring, when I would go inside the homes, I would find objects in their homes that I could use. Like, for example, I was teaching one of my students multiplication, and I asked his mother for some aluminum foil and a dry erase marker, and he had a little football. He was into football, and so I would have him write out a problem on the aluminum foil. Every time he would get the problem right, I would throw him the football. It was just like amazing, right? But it worked for him.
Yeah, that's definitely different.
And so it didn't cost her any additional money.
Nope.
And he retained what he learned.
While having
All
fun.
from the stuff that you see in the house.
While having fun. And I activated something that he was interested in, right? Which was football. So even though he was struggling with the mathematical concept of multiplication, it wasn't a struggle, because it was like, oh, I get to do something I love. Let me do this and then do this. Let me do this and do this. And so that's kind of like my concept of children can learn through play. And it has just worked.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
It is.
concept.
You spoke about the vis-a-vis style. Can you explain that a little bit more of what that is to the people?
Yeah, so it's just different styles. As I explained, like, I may be a hands-on learner, but I also may be visual. Or I may be an auditory learner, but I also may be visual. Like, I might have a dominant style, but then there's another style that I need to be able to comprehend what it is that I want to learn, right? So it could be all three. It could be I'm hands-on, I need to be able to touch, I need to be able to do it, I need to hear you talk to me, I need to see it. So yeah, it just all depends on that child style, not the teacher style.
Why do you think that style is not more prevalent in the school districts today? Or in the schools? I mean, I know, like, some lessons I like to teach critical thinking lessons, right? And I will relate, like, a movie scene and tell them and ask them what they see, and kind of ask different questions so they can kind of critically think about what's going on and kind of put it to what's happening in real life. Why do you think that style is not, like, prevalent in the schools this day?
So it's not a style. It's just, are the teachers tapping into the learning styles of the children? And I can't really speak to what goes on in a particular classroom, but what I can say is that what I witnessed growing up, it was more so about how the teacher was comfortable teaching versus individual students' learning styles. Because, I mean, let's just be honest, you might have 20 students to one teacher,
Right.
which is hard nowadays.
Yeah, it's hard.
And so that's why I'm saying, like, that mixture, that mixing it up, getting away from the chalkboard, the overhead projector, and doing more hands-on
Lecturing,
activities. You know, and now what we have with technology, I mean, the sky's the limit as far as is reaching students' learning styles.
Right, yeah. I think having classrooms that size just does a disservice to the kids in general, right? Because you can't give them that individual
You're
attention.
gonna lose somebody.
And like, you know, like I was fortunate enough to go to private school, and then I also went to public school. Majority of my lifestyle went to public school, but like I enjoyed private school because I felt like I just learned more. You know what I mean? I had a classroom of like 13 kids, like, but it was focused, you know what I mean? I was able to get the attention in the direction I needed, you know, for the course. So, do you think this current school system is working, or like should we just scrap the whole thing? You know what I mean, and rebuild it? Like, is it even worth it?
I mean,
anymore.
education is always worth it.
No.
Right? However, there's different ways we can learn.
Right.
Like, again, I emphasize, and I'll continue to emphasize, like, if we can really meet the children where they are. And I understand some people may say, there's hundreds of thousands of children, every teacher can't do that. I understand that. But if we can just create opportunities to meet them where they are, I believe that our children will be better off.
Yeah, I agree.
And I also believe too that it's always like children need a village.
Exactly.
You know, of course, the school is one component. And so I believe in the trimodal support system. I believe home is one,
Absolutely.
school is another, and community is the last piece. And so if my child has 3 touches, right? They're getting their touch from their home, touch from their school, and touch from the community, then that child is going to be better off.
Right, because that means they're well-rounded in all 3 areas.
You know, and so they get that additional support. And so I am an educator, right? And I'm not trying to bash the school system or anything, but I know, I don't want to say but because but cancels out. I also know how additional support can help that school system. And so, like, that's what Malaika is, right? We're an additional support. For our older children, we're additional support to the school system. For our younger children in our early learning academy, we're starting them off to get them ready for school. Right. And so what our motto is that we guarantee that your child is kindergarten ready. So we're doing the building blocks, and then we want to pass them off to school. And so at school, they've done the building blocks, and then they pass them off to us with the after school program or with the summer program. Yeah.
I love it. Good concept.
So does your brand or company invest into the community at the moment right now? Like, do you have like different community outreach stuff you're doing with Malaika or any of the other business initiatives?
So right now we've actually just moved to this community. Malaika has been in existence for over 10 years. We'll be celebrating our 11th year in November.
God bless.
So we literally just moved to this community. We had this facility for over 5 years. It was getting worked on. We were getting everything ready to move here. However, we just started operating within the last 30 days. And so I do have some connections with different organizations in this community, but we haven't done anything yet because we literally just got here. But we do plan to partner and to do some great works in this community. We're excited to be here, and we look forward to helping the community.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit more about the learning center we're in at the moment? And I wanted you to touch on the quote. Tell us the quote that you stand by for the community, for the learning center. Is what children can do with assistance today, they will be able to do by themselves tomorrow.
So, Malaika is Swahili. It means angel, small child. And our motto, again, as I stated, was that we guarantee that we get your child kindergarten ready. And so we give them all the foundational tools they need so that they can get ready for kindergarten. And so the quote that you mentioned, I had created that over 15 years ago in regards to private tutoring and just the extra support that children need, which is, you may need my assistance today. Right. But the goal is not for you to stay with me always. Right. The goal is for me to help you, to assist you and aid you today so that tomorrow you don't need me anymore.
And possibly can help the next person.
And so you can pay it forward and help the next child. And so the beauty of being in business as long as we have been is I get to see my former students now grown up. Like some of the kids that I work with, they've graduated from college. They've graduated from high school. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm showing my age. Like my niece, she's 10 years old. When she started out in Malaika, she was 9 months old. So again, it's those foundational skills and tools that they need to get them ready, and so that tomorrow they'll be independent.
That's what's up. That's good. So, do you have a vision for educating the next generation? Like, what do you see this learning center propelling? What's next?
I believe what's next for us is we're still going to give them those foundational skills and pieces, but I want to get into some tech. You know, I want to get into some.
Everything is
yep. I want to get into some tech. We have done some STEM activities in the past, but I want to get into some tech. I want to get into some things that are hands-on that children are just interested in, whether it's gaming, whether it's Lego building, whether it's taking something apart and building it back together. I really feel like it doesn't have to be in the traditional setting of education for a child to learn. You know, the reality of it is I went to college, I'm an advocate for college, I say go to college, but every child is not going to go to college.
Right,
Some of them are going to go to a trade school, some of them are going to get a certificate.
Right.
That's just reality.
So you know, I have to ask,
Yes,
right?
I knew you was
So
gonna
we
say
had
that.
an episode. Every time somebody brings up the trade versus school comment, because Chaz went to college, I did the trade route. You know, you prefer like why one or the other outside of you just do it outside of the average answer, like just do what's best for you. But like, why do you prefer college over trade?
I don't think it's a preference. I think for me, college was the road that I had to take because I wanted to become a teacher. Like, so I knew that I was going to become a teacher when I was like 2 and 3. I was teaching my mom and my brother how to spell cat. So to get to that end goal of becoming a teacher, school was the only route for me, right? And so I believe that you as a parent have to know your child, you know, and know if they're going to be able to go through a 4-year university or a 2-year college to get an associate's degree. You have to know who your child is and what they can handle, versus just sending them off to college and like, you get a degree, and then they don't even end up doing anything with the degree.
Right.
Yeah,
You
Or
know?
wasting just money.
Yeah. You know, so I feel like that's something personal, you know, for each household to decide, and that child to, you know, because the reality of it is college isn't for everyone. But I do also know that higher education does open doors for you, right?
Absolutely.
And it helps you earn more money. Some people can say like, well, I have a college degree, but I'm not even using it. You know, so we can go on and on and on about that.
Yeah, it's pros and cons to
you know,
everything.
I think that's just like a personal debate or opinion.
Do what works for you at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
Nobody's gonna judge you. Nobody's gonna know really, right? If you making $100,000 with your degree or just a trade, they just gonna know you make some money. So
Yeah.
just do.
I'm an advocate for education. Just get some type of education.
Right. So yeah.
I feel like they in high schools, I know once upon a time they used to be able to graduate with a certificate in training or some type of a plumbing or something like that. I feel like that should still be happening today. Like if you're if you're in school in high school, you should take classes to be an electrician. You should take classes for HVAC or anything like that. It's not geared towards that anymore. It's geared towards college, but that's a whole nother story because they want people to spend money on college and things like that.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I believe in magnet school was like the high school that I went to Langley High School, which was a teaching academy. So I said to you all, I knew early on, right? So early on, I was taking the steps. You know, I went to Langley because it prepared you to become a teacher, and then went to study education. You know, so I feel like at the end of the day, you know, you got to just put your kids in the best position to set them up for success and what they want to do.
absolutely.
Hey,
Can you tell us a little bit more about your lesson plans and
yeah.
all these beautiful things we have on the table?
sure. So here,
Let's start with this.
this was my very first book, My Aunt and Me. This was actually based off my relationship with my brother. I mean, excuse me, I'm sorry, my nephew
Okay.
Alan.
So you were the aunt.
I'm the aunt.
Okay.
He's the nephew.
Okay.
And it's just basically coming from the perspective of that aunt, right? Of course, you know, children have their mother, they have their father, but then
Right.
there's also these other people in their lives who mean something to them.
Right, and just as
Whether
important,
it's an aunt, it's a godmother, a godfather, it's a cousin. And so that's kind of why I wrote that book, is to show that children have support too, not trying to take the place of their parents, but they also have other people in their life that is important.
Yeah.
And so
Community.
again,
Yeah.
I'm all about community.
Right.
And the games and activities guide, the reason why I created this is because, as I had shared with you all, I had worked in the nonprofit sector. And so for after school programs, child care centers, daycare centers, sometimes we just need help. We need some quick activities. They're not like full drawn out lesson plans, but they have objectives, there's discussion questions, their procedures, and they're just fun activities to help engage kids. And so I definitely created that for people who are offering educational type programming.
That's a blessing, man.
Yeah.
Just we've covered a lot of things today, yeah. Like, oh my gosh, like from just the learning center to these books that you created. It's a blessing that you're able to like expose the children early, you know, to different things and to just know that there's just more out there. You know what I mean? Than just your standard basketball and rap type of like. Careers, you know, like the more they get exposed to different things like this, it just expands their minds so that, you know, they don't have to do whatever what they only see on TV, you know. Like your books carry so much education and substance and essence, you know what I mean? Just like you said it earlier, building a community, you know, and I think that's just really important that you do need a community nowadays to raise our kids. Because,
It takes a village, as they always say.
Village.
Absolutely.
Like, the system is just so. You know, the system is the system. You know, the system is wicked. You know, but like we gotta have positive outlets like this. You know what I mean? To have our kids stay grounded. So I think don't let that go over your head, man. This is a blessing and this is a dope session. So
I also feel like having the activities and games that you have, I feel like it's a lost art because a lot of times. Kids don't want to go to school because, you know, the stuff is not fun. It's not geared towards them. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that you do have is geared towards the kid. Like you say, you want to meet them where they at. So and it's also you're learning, but it's also fun. So therefore, you're going to retain the information a lot longer. Then you'll be able to explain it to somebody else because you understand it from A to Z. You know, a lot of times in school, you can't really. Some people are different, but you can't really teach somebody something if you don't understand it fully yourself. And if you didn't have fun, if it was stressful the whole time, then you're not going to retain nothing. I remember those 8 o'clock statistic classes, man. I can't tell you what I learned in stats 5 days a week. Like, I used to hate those classes. But like a business law class, I can tell you some stuff. I mean, I love that class, like management class, or things like that. So you got to try to make it fun, man.
I agree.
yeah.
So
And that's what it's about. Like, again, we can learn through play. I mean, and as I had explained before, even about like gaming, you know, gaming doesn't have to be a negative. It can be utilized as a positive. Again, we just have to just kind of flip and make it that, right? It doesn't have to just be like, oh, my kid is just sitting there on a game for hours.
Right.
It all depends, number one, on what type of game it is, and then also like what concepts, what skills is that child even learning through gaming.
Right. And then you wonder why, like, kids are stuck to those things, like, because that's where they at. That's what they like to do. They like to have fun. Like, you wonder why kids learn so much on YouTube than in the actual classroom. But, like, YouTube is obviously not structured, you know what I mean? It's more fun things and entertaining things to do on YouTube. So, like, when you hear them rapping the newest song out, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they caught on to that because they were doing something fun on YouTube or whatever platform they were on, and it stuck with them. And I think that this transition here, like you said, learning games, you know, and meeting the kids where they at so that they can retain it. And I think that's just the biggest problem nowadays. It's just, you know, kids retaining information.
And so, like, children learn through like song and play and different things of that nature. And so here, even at Malaika, there's always some type of music playing, or you'll hear the staff singing, singing kids' names, because they just learn through song. And you know, so it's funny because we'll create like the randomest song. That's probably not even a word, but whatever.
You can say it on culture.
Right.
You know, they're probably like, she said she had a message for you, what? But like, it'll be something random, and my assistant will just create this whole song about like wiping down the counter or something. And we laugh at it, but we understand how children learn through song. Like, for example, like my daughter Sarai. You spell her name Sarai, and so I'm trying to teach her now. She's only 9 months, but I'm teaching her name. She knows her name. Like, if you say Sarai, she can reckon. She'll know. And so her name Ai at the end is what's called a diphthong. And so you know, he's like, what? Because of course, like, you know, okay, so an A and an I by themselves, it's like what? I, or the long I.
Right.
But when you put the A and I together, it's a diphthong. And so I'm trying to teach her like that sound is like ah.
Yeah.
And so I do this like it's almost like a song, a chant, and I say Sarai, Sarai. Sarai. And I slide my hand because I want her to know. I don't want her to get confused on that A and that I. So when she gets older, she won't be like people won't pronounce her name wrong, like Saraya, like that has already happened. And I'm like, nope, Sarai. So even just that, is I do it in song form now. And so I got this puzzle that has these knobs on it so she can pick it, but it's still her name. And it's early as she's only 9 months. And I'm already introducing that to her so that she's going to know her name. And she's going to know how to spell it. And she's going to know my name is Sarai.
Right.
She's going to be able to say.
There's no question.
There's no question. Sarai, what's your name? Sarai Renee Thomas. She's going to know.
You definitely let them know you had the masters or whatever. You said that thing. I was like,
so whatever you think you messed up with.
That randomness is not a word, but she came back and clapped you with something else. That I was like, I don't know. Diphthong. My bad.
Diphthong.
Diphthong. Sorry, I did not know what that was. So you redeemed yourself because you lost me. I was like, I'm not going to continue on that topic.
But I like that you said how a lot of kids learn from songs. Because you think of like the cleanup song.
Yeah, clean up.
Everybody, everywhere, and you really gotta pick your stuff up and put it back. And then now they ain't
that
doing it. You put a
song
little
with the
bass in
chord,
the
wipe
voice.
it down the table.
Yeah.
Like they'll go home and do that and start singing the song. The parents be like, I don't know where you got that from, but keep doing it.
I mean, even washing your hands, like the birthday song, and so while the kids are washing their hands, we sing the birthday song. Make sure they get the bag, like all those things that are important and matter. We just make it fun, right? And so again, I learned from private tutoring that if I could just get them a little younger, then I wouldn't get the calls in second grade and the calls in fourth grade.
Right, that's dope. It's a brilliant concept. You figured it out. You cracked the code.
Word.
So I love the learning center. I love the learning activities for the children and the books. But you don't mind if we switch gears a little bit so I can get my little turn in,
Hey, education is my first love.
Yeah, as it should be.
I can stay on that all day because again, I told you all 2 and 3. I knew what it was hitting for.
Okay.
Yep.
So you have a lot of different things going on. So I'm a real estate person. That's something that I love to do, that I do on a daily. Just the broad overview, what got you into that lane? Did it kind of just fall in your lap, or you just were like, I guess this is what I'm doing now? Or you had an interest in that at some point and it got you what you needed, and then you like...
Yeah, so I was interested years back. In my early 20s, probably like 23, I think I read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. You haven't read it, go out. If you want to get into real estate, go get that book. And this is not a plug. I'm not an endorser. I'm not a brand ambassador.
You should read it anyway.
Yeah, I honestly look over it every year.
Yeah.
Like I just to refresh. I listened to it on my audiobook, but I read that and I was like, okay, And again, it was just the opinion about the rich dad versus the poor dad, right? And who he considered rich and who he considered poor based off of mindset and actions and things of that nature. But by reading that book, I'm like, wait a minute, that's just something right here. Like real estate creates wealth. And so again, I was 23. I'll be 40 in 2 weeks, I think. In 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, I'll be 40. That's all good. I'm happy for my age. Okay, and so you figure that's 17 years ago when I read that book, and I can't remember, like within the last 5 years, I got into real estate. So all that time had lapsed and passed since I actually got into it. However, I just learned the gems and the nuggets along the way. It's hard, and there's they have these courses and everything, but there's really no one manual. The first thing people say is use other people's money. Well, how do you do that?
Yeah, right. How do you,
Especially how do you do that for a beginner? And so some of those concepts can be very frustrating when it comes to real estate because it's like how don't tell me what. Okay, you can tell me what to do, but are you going to show me or tell me how to do it? And so reading that book It was something I knew I wanted to get involved with. And then, of course, all these DIY shows, fixer upper, fix this house, flip this house, blah, blah, blah. So you get excited watching those shows. HGTV, the Property Brothers, all, you know. But it doesn't go down like that.
Exactly. Yeah. They got the money in the capital already.
It doesn't go down like that. And so, I had a house years ago, and I ended up, when I was 21, I ended up losing it to foreclosure. And I can be honest and say that I was young. You know, I just did things the wrong way. And so when it came time even for us to move here, this was my purchase. And I ended up purchasing the building, with cash. And so not knowing that this was a massive renovation. And so for people who don't know our location, 1410 North Franklin Street, it used to be a bar. And so the bar was called Alexander's, which my family owned, right? And so, like, I rode past here with my agent almost 6 years ago, and I'm like, not knowing, like, then what I know now, right? And so I came in, we walked in, it was all boarded up, and I'm like, whoo, this is crazy in here.
It's hard to see the potential at that stage.
Like, so there was,
open mind.
when you walked in, there was bar stools. Over here was the bathrooms. I'm trying to think. Back there, back in the back was the dance floor. And so I came here the first time with my agent, and I'm like, like, this is interesting. But I just went home and I'm like, something was about it. Like, something was about this building. And so I called him back. I was like, can I just go back one more time? Like, can I go back again? And he was like, sure, Alicia, we can go back. And it was Rich. And we came back again, and I walked around again. And I'm like, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, I'm like, this is it.
What was that moment for you, though?
Like, it was just in here. And even, like, upstairs, the front room was the bar area, and then the back room, there was a kitchen. And so even just walking through the bar, the kitchen, like I said, back there was a dance floor. I'm like, this is it. And so I was like, I want this place. And so I went through a lot of challenges to get it. Like, I first came to visit it, I believe, in like July, and it was like August of 2016. And so I didn't even purchase it until February 2017.
Okay.
And so there's just different things that I had to go through to even get it. But the one thing I'll say about real estate is, again, when people say, oh, you can do this and you can do that, but sometimes you need to be guided along the way.
Absolutely.
Because, okay, I had got the building, but then it was a massive renovation. But I had nobody to guide me
on what to do, what to take
on
out.
what to do, where to go next. And so,
and then you got to worry about getting hustled and everything like that. People trying to swindle you. Like, there's a whole ball game outside of just turning the place around, right? So
I had to figure out where was I going to get money from to take on this massive renovation. Again, at this time, I'm not into real estate. I don't really know anything. All I knew is that I was able to purchase the building. So I owned the building. Cool, great. I'm a real estate owner. Yay!
Nice,
And that was it. You know, and so it was my banker at the time, who I banked with, First Commonwealth Bank, who I started engaging with to get a loan to fix it up. And so, again, I'm not knowing it's a massive renovation, but they're knowing. And so they said that they would fund me based off of my history with them, based off of my relationship. But they wanted me to have somebody else come along for the funding. And so I reached out to the URA. And so the URA of Pittsburgh was amazing. Like, so then I started engaging with both First Commonwealth Bank and the URA. And then we all just kind of came to the table. They said what they would fund. The URA said what they would fund. And finally we got the funding. But it took a long time. It took a long time.
Yeah, this was not overnight. You had to make connections, build relationships, you know, and let people know that you were serious about what your next move was going to be. And I'm pretty sure you had a clear, exact, precise plan at that time when you had that round table meeting and say, like, this is what we're doing. And you were ready for that moment.
Like, I had to have a licensed general contractor. And so even with that, like, I had to find somebody. And it was actually one of my parents who referred construction company to me, Power 59 Construction. Shout out to Scott Thomas Tunstall, who just hung in there with me. And we had hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. Things that the bank started requesting even of him, like additional insurance. Like he had, the insurance he needed, but he had to end up getting like an additional type of insurance. I forgot what they wanted. I'm trying to think what else. It was just so many different things.
Moving parts and variables.
Yeah, that we had to do. And the one thing I can say is he didn't quit on me. Like, cause there was times where funding had got delayed, where the money, like it just stopped, which they did the work, and then it just, all types of stuff happened. And then when the pandemic hit, prices went up. So then I ended up having a change order, and this change order came to almost $70,000. And I'm like, oh.
Hard times
and
hit.
people and now I see why people will start a project and then it end up getting sold or it end up sitting, because there's so many things that can happen. But again, we watch these shows and we think, yeah, I could go out. No.
I think it looks pretty.
It's a swindle.
No, and so but we made it. And so again, I told you all, I purchased it. I saw it in August 2016, purchased February 2017. We just moved in April of 2022.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
y'all,
you got it done though, like you said.
but we're here.
Right.
We're here.
It was worth it.
Yes.
Right.
Every hurdle, every sleepless night.
All right.
It was
You are
worth it.
still with Miss Alichia Parker Thomas.
Still here.
Still here, dropping gems. We done covered, oh my gosh, we done covered so many things. We done covered learning, education, real estate, games for kids, books. It's been a very fun episode. Real, like, enlightening, coaching for, just a real good learning experience. But we're not done, and we still got a couple more things we trying to tap into. So you previously spoke about, the time frame that it took to open up the establishment from pre-COVID till now. And you had a lot of hurdles, you had a lot of setbacks that you had to get through. And, that seems like it takes up a lot of your time in itself, but somehow you were able to create APAR. Let me see this. Yeah, we got one more business, APAR Home Health Care and Agency. When did this come about, or when was the time frame that you were able to put this together? Because you're just a busybody from one thing to the next, and I'm like, and then you do what? We almost missed this, y'all. We almost missed that.
I have a great support system. My family, shout out to my husband, Sean, who just lets me be me.
Sean.
My family, everybody who plays a part in the different business ventures, who helps it run smoothly. The one thing, let me just say this. Anytime you want to build something, it has to be able to run like a well-oiled machine. It has to be able to run on its own. And so if you have to stay there morning, noon, and night, you're an employee. And that's just that simple. And what do I mean by that? If the business cannot run without you being there physically, you're an employee.
Right, that's a fact.
You know what I mean? So it takes a village. I wouldn't be able to do anything that I do without the hands and feet of everybody who's involved in making these things run smoothly. But the one thing I can say is that I'm passionate about the things that I've done. And they've segued into other things because they're a part of my mission. Like, my mission in life is to help train and develop people, whether it's children, youth, and adults. And so a part of all of these entities, that is what I'm doing. And so that's my life mission and purpose. And so I'm fortunate that the people who are connected to me, they see that and they support that vision and that mission. And so Home Healthcare Agency, I had started years back. But with the pandemic, it just became harder to get up and running. And so I had took all the classes, I had got my paperwork in order, but when March of 2020 hit, it just slowed down. And so I didn't actually receive my first client until April of last year. So, a matter of fact, we've celebrated our 1 year anniversary this year with APAR Home Healthcare Agency. And so we're excited about that. We've sent our staff certificates and everything, just thanking them for their service. Because, you know, times is hard out here. It's hard to find good, loyal, committed employees. Like, people don't want to work. And so...
And it's sad people don't want to work.
Nah,
Get your stuff
They
together.
just want to collect bread.
Like, you got to put in the work.
I mean,
Sit back
there's
and
nothing
work.
wrong with collecting bread, but like if you put the systems in place to collect it, yes. But if you just like leeching, then nah.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, I'm hiring now. Now hiring. 412-322-1273. Give us a call.
All right, I'm going to put that down there.
Right.
412-322-1273. We are hiring.
We chopping this up and we blasting this footage.
Yes.
Yeah, soon in a couple of days. So, you know, with all your different entities and endeavors, like, I was reading a book, Radically Candid by Kim Scott, really good book. And it basically talks about being like a kick-ass boss and, you know, how to get your team to produce, right? Because, you know, you got different things. You can't be everywhere at the same time, right? Like, you know, but it was a section in the book that I just recently read, and it was just like, you know, in order to be a kick-ass boss, like, you got to be able to bring the best version of yourself, like, every day. You know what I mean? All those negative feelings and all those personal feelings with this job, you know what I mean? You can't let that pour over into the next job. So, with that being said, is one of the questions I have for you is like, how do you stay centered to bring your best version of yourself to everybody? You know, like, what keeps you grounded per se?
So I would say, like, I'm not carrying my work, right? I'm not carrying the things I do. Like, I'm empathetic to the families that I serve. I'm empathetic to the participants that I serve. However, like, when I leave and I go home, I'm just with my family. Like, I'm chill. I just want to hang out, go out to eat, you know, play little dumb games and stuff with my husband and my family. Like, that's just me. You know what I mean? So that's what it is for me.
Family.
Yeah, just my family.
That's
you know, that's
simple.
Yeah, it's not camera action. It's not. And the interesting thing about it is, like, when I'm at home, I'm reserved and I'm quiet and I'm down. But when I'm at work, I'm do like but I have to be that way,
right.
you know. But at home, I'm just like, oh, my husband's like, what do you want to do? Whatever you want to do,
Right.
you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm really like that, and so who I am, and I don't want people to be like, well, who she is, like, no, it's not two of me, but it's like when we're at work, we have to perform a certain way, you know, and when I go home, you know, I'm not at work. I'm not.
Yeah, so
I don't have to give orders, and I'm just
yeah.
like, okay, whatever you want to do. That's what we doing.
Right.
And so that's the difference.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
I
saying?
love that answer. You know, one of the examples in the book, I know you don't drink, but they were like, oh, they take vodka. And I was like, well, you know, that everybody has their own vice and stuff, like family, exercising, you know, spending time with your kids or giving your kids a kiss before you go to work in the morning, like little things like that just help people stay centered. So yeah, I love to hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
definitely family and exercise. Like, I love to work out. So.
You
That's it for me.
health is wealth. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So I had an obvious question, and it kind of just like fell into my lap, you know. But I'm gonna put this up here for y'all because the question was, as an entrepreneur, do you remember your first check? And we're here at the Learning Center, and Alichia clearly remembers her first check, and she's framed it, posted it in her office, and it was for $20.
First payment.
First
yes,
payment.
2011. First
Tell us about
child that we had enrolled. The first payment that was like their copay was $20, and boy, we were happy.
Yeah.
We were happy over that $20 because it was like we did it. Again, the one thing that I would be able to, if I could say anything to business entrepreneurs who want to start, stay consistent. Don't quit. Like, it may not look like it did yesterday. It may not look like it did for Kay, for me, but let it look like what it's going to look like for you. And so back then, I was working at the nonprofit that I had talked about, and I started Malaika, and we got our first 2 kids, right? And we didn't have any money, like we just had enough to start, to get the doors open. We couldn't pay ourselves. My assistant who worked, she was here, but she wasn't getting paid, so she was working for free. Right. But again, it's people like that who believe in you,
they believe in the
believe in the vision.
Right.
When you get those people, then my mom ended up coming to work and in the afternoon, in the evenings with us. Like, it was great because we had people who were excited, who believed in the vision. And it's like, man, I didn't feel like I was carrying the load by myself, right?
Exactly.
And so when we got that first payment, it was just like, oh my gosh, we got a payment. Like, we really opened, and so that's just a reminder, right? 11 years now doesn't look like it did back then.
Facts.
But that was our beginning. And so that's always going to be a reminder. Yeah. That first 20.
I love stories like this.
Yeah.
And then I was hyped just because she had framed it already. I was like, this is going to be perfect.
Yeah.
But you got to stay humble. And
and
then, because it's easy to forget the journey, you know what I mean, that you took to get here. And then you see it every day. It's like, look, it was way worse.
Yeah. Listen, I remember back then, so when we got our first deposit, it was my partner at the time. We're no longer partners, but we split, I think, like $500 for the whole month.
Wow.
Yes. Ooh. And like, you talk about lean days, $500. Like, that's nothing nowadays, right? People people blow that just on food and
going out,
activities and having fun and going different things.
Food.
Like,
activities.
But I also remember, like, so we started in November, and I think it was like January, February of 2012. I quit my full-time job. And I just believed I was right where I needed to be. And I'm like, well, it's either going to sink or swim. I'm in hell.
And you bet it on yourself.
Yeah, and so this year I celebrate 10 years of being full-time self-employed. Nice. Like, I have.
Hold on. I definitely.
You need a we needed a couple of those. I didn't want to say it.
I thought about
it. We need to turn this thing up, man. Look at all this positive energy.
10 years of full-time self-employed. Yeah.
Let them know, yo. Let them know. That's so
been
gangster.
Easy. But like I said, I'm grateful to God for just support system and the people who have come along the way.
Absolutely.
To help the journey.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
So you did say something about, $500 and you're having to split that $500.
Split that.
$250.
Yes. For the whole month.
Right.
Not weekly.
Right.
Not bi-weekly. For 1 month.
4 weeks.
So if you didn't have to split that $500, right, and it was just for yourself and you didn't have any businesses or establishment, how would you flip that $500 if that was all you had?
I would probably do the same thing over again. Honestly, I would put it into a business. Oftentimes people think of entrepreneurship and they think of being their own boss as, I make all this money, but you gotta put money back in. You gotta, because if you don't invest into yourself, who else will invest into you? Right. But also educate yourself. I would say I would have I would probably do it all over again, but another thing I may have done is taken a course on business, because a lot of things that I've learned I self-taught. I didn't go to school for business. Again, my degree is in education. So I may have taken a course or a class to learn more about the structures of business, business taxes. Like, I had to learn a hard lesson about business taxes, and I owed over 20,000 in taxes, and didn't know because I had a bookkeeper who I thought was handling my books, and he wasn't. Wow, so that's the part.
Because you gotta know.
That's the part they don't talk about.
People ain't talking about that part. Or see, normally you're looking for January to come around because you want to get your W-2, right?
Right. And then
entrepreneurs, we ain't looking for we cool with the year, but we ain't running to file our taxes.
Right.
Because we understand and know that there's going to be a tax bill.
Oh, right.
We ain't getting a refund. I can't remember the last time I got a refund.
Right.
You know, but you know, it just is what it is.
Right. Uncle Sam want their money.
Yeah.
That's it.
Everybody like being a boss till it's tax time.
Right, exactly. I'm getting Wesley sniped out here. You heard it? They gunning. They gunning.
A lot of people gun guy.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
I mean, but like you said, like you gotta educate yourself every day. I mean, if you had that $500 and all you did was spend it on courses, like if you don't take those courses and figure out how to make more money, then something is wrong, right?
Yeah.
Right? You're not connecting the dots and getting where you need to be. So, yo, Alichia,
fire.
dope.
Thank you.
Mad
Thank you for
content.
having me.
No, listen, I'm very appreciative.
Like, yo, this
Thank
is
you for having
amazing.
me.
Everything, just the content, the entities, everything we discussed today is like super relevant. I hope y'all learned something today because it was just nothing but gems. Sorry, what's that word you said earlier?
Diphthong.
I hope y'all learn about your diphthong, you know what I mean? So keep that in mind, man. Just, learn every day, man. It's lovely, though. So with that being said, I know you dropped your address a couple times already, but let's do it one more time for the Learning Center. Drop everything, whatever. Websites, addresses, just
where
let
they
the
can
people, where they can find you. Let people know, man. So.
aparedu.com, aparhomehealthcare.com, 1410 North Franklin Street. I'm on Instagram, MLC Pittsburgh. I'm on Facebook, aparedu, Malaika LC, Apar Home Healthcare. Feel free to hit me up. I'm a resource.
I ain't gonna lie, we usually do this, but I don't know. I may have to put this in the credits or something. Because we always at the end of, like, when people start saying, like, where they can find you, it's usually just we do one of these, but then you just bang, 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 bang. And I'm like, that's not gonna fit at the bottom of the screen. So I'm gonna figure it out. You may have to text me all of those.
Sure.
But we definitely gonna put it on the YouTube so everybody can see it, all day. And I'll just post everyone just like couple minutes from each other because it's a lot. One-stop shop. Figure it out. Come support. Bring your kids here. Give them a different starting experience. We want to get them ahead. So get them ready for kindergarten.
That's right. Kindergarten ready.
Come on. Come here. Bring your kids here. Not the bad ones, but the good kids. Sorry. I didn't mean
No bad kids.
Nah, but we love y'all. I'm Kay.
Chaz.
And we are Culture Content. And our special guest today, Alichia Parker Thomas. There you go. Bang, 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 bang. Later, y'all. It's a wrap. Boom.